Oh, hello. I'm Dr. Patrick Brady, and I wanted to personally welcome you to the class. Let's get into it. This semester, we are going to be talking about juvenile delinquency and the system that is designed to prevent and rehabilitate teens. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is me. So what's up? I am excited to teach this class because I love talking about why teens be like that, and also what our system can do to provide them the resources and guidance necessary to keep them out of the adult system. So I grew up in a state called Nevada, in a place that is not Las Vegas or Reno. It was a rural town called Elko. You would only hear about it if you are involved in the gold mining industry and or you were murdered and Dateline came to do a story on you. So, fun stuff. After my neighbor was kidnapped when I was in first grade, I became really interested in the field of criminal justice, particularly working with youth. And so one of my first jobs in the field was when I was going to college, my undergrad program to study forensic science in Utah. I got a job working with juvenile sex offenders, supervising them in residential treatment centers. And it really changed my perspective on the world in terms of that was kind of my first exposure to the evil things that people can do to others, and also the idea that rehabilitation is possible. And so I got really interested in trying to get better at, how can we develop policies and practices that really work. Then I just punished myself by going to too much school in all these different states. And so I've had a lot of unique experiences working with youth in different capacities. So I started off with juvenile offenders, with the sex offenders. I worked in a boarding school that had boys who had emotional and behavioral issues. And so I was a staffer where I helped provide a lot of guidance to super rich youth who love to throw rocks through really expensive windows. I also did a lot of work in junior highs and high schools about teen dating violence prevention and how to have healthy relationships. And then I also supervised juveniles who worked for us at the Idaho Coalition Against Sexual Domestic Violence, who were on our teen council. And so I would do a bunch of research and they would teenify it by reviewing it, creating pamphlets, different things like that to get that out to their school and help us conduct trainings and give us guidance on stuff. And then much of my research really focuses on policing and how first responders respond to domestic violence and cases of stalking. I love to comb through case files, try to help police departments figure out what's working, how can we improve different aspects of things, and just really create my own Netflix of nightmares. So I love what I do, and I'm excited to teach this class and tell you about the things that I've learned throughout my career. Since this is an online class, we actually will not meet in person. And so if you were ever interested in talking to me, whether about this course or about the career or about what you want to do in the future, I'm also the graduate director for our program. So if you are interested in going to graduate school, I could talk to you about that. But regardless, let me know. I am pretty flexible with my schedule. I just have to figure out when I'm not going to be by the pool. Other than that, we could set up an appointment on Teams or Zoom, and I can meet virtually with you to discuss whenever is the most convenient for you. All right, so what is this class about? This class is focused on why teens be like that and how our system can really respond to youth in ways that don't traumatize them and prevent them from ending up into the adult system. And so in order to understand some of the contemporary issues that we have with our response to juvenile delinquency, we have to talk about why juvenile delinquency happens. So we're going to be focusing a lot on adolescent development and reviewing a lot of the brain science that has really shaped policies and how our current system really responds to adolescence. Yet at the same time, discussing the complexities of how facts don't always align with feelings. And so even though we know that youth and their brains are not fully developed, how do we balance that with the idea that this particular person murdered someone in a brutal way, and concerns of whether or not they're going to do that again in the future. So once we start to talk about how teens be like that and why they end up in the situations that they do, we can then talk about how the system responds. And so we will first talk about police officer interactions with juveniles, since they are most likely to be the ones that refer juveniles to the juvenile justice system. And so we're going to talk about issues and benefits of having school resource officers in schools, also what officers are doing to be proactive and how we are increasing training to help officers better understand juvenile decision-making, how the brain impacts trauma. Then we're going to be talking about what happens after a teen is arrested and how the system either detains them, releases them to a diversion program, and how they get processed through the system. Then we talk about what happens when the system decides that a juvenile needs to be incarcerated for a certain period of time. So we'll talk about some of the issues nationwide, how and what that process looks like here in Colorado. And then we're going to get into some specific topics, more specifically focused on what happens when juveniles perpetrate sex crimes. We're going to talk about my experience working with juvenile sex offenders and some of the things that I've learned. We're going to read about the latest research on what works in terms of reducing the risk of juvenile sex offending and recidivism, and talking about the struggle of when the science contradicts how we feel about particular types of crimes and where do we go moving forward. We'll also talk about the juvenile sex offender registry and whether or not that's a good or bad thing, depending on what the criteria are to end up on it and how long the juvenile should be on a registry. Finally, we are going to end the class with talking about what works in prevention and rehabilitation. And so you will read the latest science on what works and think about how we can implement the science and make that a reality in terms of policy and practice. Regardless of whether you are a criminal justice major, this class is really important for several reasons. So first, we know that juveniles commit the large majority of crime but are also at the highest risk for victimization. So if we want to reduce crime, we have to understand the factors that shape why teens be acting like they're acting. One of the strongest predictors of future behavior is past behavior, and we know that delinquent juveniles can become delinquent adults if the behavior is not adequately addressed early on. And so whether you are a criminology or a social science major, it's likely that you deal with juveniles in some fashion, whether it's to yell at them for playing on your lawn or to provide them with advocacy or supervision, or perhaps you have your own teen and or former teens. We all have had experience and or will have experience with teens at some point in our life. And so it's important to understand and reflect on what it was like to be a teen, the struggles that we encountered, and how we can kind of reflect on that when we are deciding how we should handle a juvenile who has violated a criminal law. As if you couldn't already tell, this class is going to be heavy and intense at time. I tend to not beat around the bush. I'm not going to show you anything graphic or anything purposely to traumatize you, but we are going to be reading about case studies and actual cases of real life events that impacted real people, both not only the perpetrators, but the victims and their family members, but also the family members, perpetrators as well. Just understand that we have a lot of resources that you can find in the syllabus in terms of counseling. Also understanding the importance of stress management for yourself. So make sure you're eating right, taking care of yourself, and taking breaks. So if you're coming across content or information in the course that is eliciting emotions you're not comfortable with, take breaks and to take care of yourself. So what do you need for this class? Essentially, you need a couple things. The first thing you're going to need is the textbook. I am not sure what UCCS is offering for the textbook. It's designed to it be cheaper for you, but the last I checked it was like 80 or 90 bucks. My recommendation is to check out textbookrental.com. I found it on here. The 60-day rental is pretty much what this class is for like 50 bucks. If you never rented a textbook, what is wrong with you? It's the best. You simply order it. You can get it. Sometimes they're often new textbooks. You can highlight it in it, you could write in it, and then at the end of the semester you just print out the label and send it back. Easy peasy, lemon peasy. Then you're not spending tons of money on books. And to be honest, unless you're going to work with juveniles, you probably won't need this book to keep for the rest of your life. And if you ever need a book, just let me know. I have like a million juvenile delinquency textbooks. Shoot me an email. The second thing you're going to need to do is purchase a documentary. Well, actually, don't purchase it. You should just rent it. This documentary is a really good documentary about school resource officers. Everything else in this class is free or relatively low cost. Also, to supplement the readings, we're also going to listen to specific episodes of 3 different podcasts. So if you've never listened to a podcast, get ready because you're about to be educated and entertained. Because these are all juvenile justice, juvenile delinquency center podcasts that are completely free. You could either listen to them on the website or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. What do you have to do? Great question. The syllabus will explain everything, and then you will also get detailed handouts for each assignment. First thing you're going to do is a syllabus scavenger hunt. And the purpose of this assignment is to punish you. No, just kidding. The syllabus is super long, and a lot of the syllabi look the same. And so really the scavenger hunt is just asking you basic questions to help you figure out where to find information. The syllabus is always online on Canvas. It also has the course schedule, what you have to do in this class, and when everything is due. What you're going to do is an introduction video and post it on a discussion board. There's a handout available for you online that describes that. You're simply just going to make a 2 to short minute video, no longer than 5 minutes. I have things to do. That introduces yourself, and then you're going to provide a response to a question in that intro video. To make sure that you are reading all the really cool articles and chapters that I assigned for this class, you will be doing a reading assessment. Each week, there will be a 10-question true-false multiple choice quiz. It is open book and open note, but it is timed, so you will only have 20 minutes to complete the 10-question quiz. So make sure you are keeping up on the readings and taking the notes. You have to complete all 7 reading quizzes. At the end of the semester, I will drop your lowest quiz with your highest score. So if you bombed the first quiz, but then you get, a 9 or a 10 on the other quizzes, that low score on the first quiz is going to get replaced with a 10 or whatever your highest score is. So each week you'll do a reading assessment, and then you'll also have a critical thinking exercise. This will range from doing reading and responding to a case study, writing a reflection, watching a documentary. The assignments will change each week, so you're getting an ability to think about different issues. And then you will complete a final project. And essentially your final project is an elevator speech that you could present to either stakeholders or at a city council meeting that is encouraging them to adopt some type of policy based off the research that you are doing. So you will submit your notes or the speech that you have created, and then you will also film yourself presenting the speech as if we, the audience, are the city council members or the stakeholders, and we are assessing how persuasive you are in convincing us whether or not to adopt a policy. And then in terms of just course policies, in all my classes, I write in at least one free pass for assignments. If you have a week where there's just too much going on, you're moving, you get into a fight with your dog, whatever, and you need an extension, shoot me an email, you get one freebie a semester. That is also if, hey, you forgot to take a quiz. As long as you email me either 2 days before or 2 days after the due date, I will allow you to turn the assignment in at a later date. But you need to email me this. There has to be a paper trail, and I have to approve you being able to turn the assignment in late. Academic dishonesty, I just don't have any tolerance for it, right? I understand it's a case-by-case scenario, and I will review situations case by case. But if there is any indication that I believe that plagiarism or the cheating or some type of academic dishonesty, which is outlined in the syllabus, I will have a meeting with you. You're simply just going to fail the class, and I will report you to the dean of students. If you are a student with special needs, let me know. I'm more than happy to address that accommodation. If you do not know what I am talking about, if you've ever found yourself having a hard time, with reading comprehension, or it's hard to pay attention in classes, or you need extra time on time quizzes, these are all issues that people deal with. I even deal with it and things like that. And so you can reach out to the Student Center with Disabilities. They have lots of resources. So if you have any more questions about that, let me know. Title IX has to do with preventing and addressing sexual violence, physical violence, dating violence, stalking. If you are ever experiencing an issue, I'm more than happy to talk with you. If you need a support person, things like that, just know that I don't have like a counseling degree or anything like that. I am just a supportive ear who fully understands harms of victimization. Or if you need someone to go to Title IX with you, things like that, more than happy to help. Just understand that if there's ever a disclosure, whether you do that in writing or in person, we are mandated reporters, and I hate this policy, but it essentially means that we just have to report it to Title IX. And that's more so the idea if it's an ongoing issue, or if this person's name has come up multiple times, or there's a threat to the safety of the university, that's why they track it. But regardless, if there's any disclosures of sexual assaults, dating violence, physical violence, stalking, just know that that's something that I do have to report, but I will let you know before I do it. So that is not to discourage you from disclosing. That is just to let you know the policies moving forward. And then in terms of upcoming deadlines, make sure by the end of this week you get your syllabus scavenger hunt done and complete your introduction video. Other than that, let's have a great summer, and I'll see you on the other side.